Using our voices because, unfortunately, as we know, the NYPD collaborates with the IDF. They work hand in hand together, and the NYPD has an office in Israel, and they train together to oppress the Palestinians. And they're out here trying to oppress the Palestinian liberation movement. So they told us that we can't use any sound, any amplified sound, but that's why we need everybody here to raise their voices, because we don't need no amplified sound. We have the sound of the people, am I right? All right, so we're out here today to launch a petition to the UN. That petition will be delivered today to the United Nations. That petition is calling for land back. All of the land that the Zionist Israeli occupation has stolen from the Palestinians must be returned. So we're out here with a petition. The petition, if you haven't read it, is on social media, so please go ahead and read it. We're gonna go through some of it today, but it's really important that we start shifting the narrative. Okay, let me actually get into my speech. How about that? All right. We find ourselves in a situation where a mere ceasefire is insufficient to address the ongoing genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. To achieve true and lasting peace, we must consider a comprehensive solution. This solution entails dissolving the Zionist Israeli state and returning all land to Palestine. Recently, Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister in the cabinet of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, made a statement that underscores the gravity of the situation. He declared that the state of Israel could no longer accept the existence of an independent entity in Gaza. It is becoming increasingly clear to the global population that the existence of the Israeli state, which is a terrorist settler colonial project, cannot be tolerated.
That's right.
The genocidal Zionist Israeli project must be completely dismantled, and those officials directly responsible for its implementation, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, along with their enablers in the successive U.S. European regimes, must be held accountable and brought to justice. It is crucial to recognize that any other solution falls short of what is needed. If we genuinely desire peace, it is essential to acknowledge that Israel poses a significant threat, not just to West Asia, but to global peace as well. The surrender and defusing of their nuclear weapons should be a priority, as we can no longer overlook their blatant disregard for international law. Israel's genocidal military onslaught against Gaza cannot be justified by claiming self-defense against the very people whose land they occupy. As the UN Special Rapporteur has aptly explained, Israel cannot claim the right of self-defense in a territory that it colonized and keeps under belligerent military occupation. Supporting the right of the Zionist state to continue to exist is equivalent to supporting this genocide. According to international law, colonial occupations have only one right, the right to dissolve. It is clear that the two-state solution was never viable, and rewarding Zionism with land is not a just solution. Therefore, it is time to dissolve Israel once and for all and restore the land and homes to the rightful owners, the Palestinian people. The Bronx Anti-War Coalitions and all the partner organizations that have signed on to this petition stand in unwavering solidarity with the Palestinian resistance, and we support the liberation of Palestine from the river to the sea by any means necessary. We demand the total and complete dismantling of the Zionist Israeli state and the implementation of a one-state solution that includes the right of return for Palestinians. Historic Palestine as a secular state where all religious and ethnic groups can live with equal democratic and human rights must be restored. Additionally, we will continue to advocate for a new Nuremberg to hold the U.S. and Israeli governments and current and former military members accountable. Strength and victory to the resistance. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free!
Next up, I would love to introduce. Next up, I would like to present Janet, who's also with the Bronx Anti-War Coalition.
Thank you, thank you. I really wish I had a sound system. I'm a low talker, so please listen up. Janet.
You gotta project.
All right.
Project the voice.
Okay. You're gonna have to listen up because I'm a low talker, so forgive me with that. I want to thank all of you for coming. Give yourselves a round of applause, first of all. It's now been 45 days since this human rights horror exploded on Gaza. I cannot begin to articulate the respect I feel for all of you, marching and engaging in acts of good trouble and civil disobedience. It's tiring, I can tell you that myself. But the 2.3 million people in Gaza, half of which are children, need our voices raised. This isn't a trend. Lives and futures are on the line. Every moment, more innocent Palestinians die. Hospitals are attacked. Schools. People forced to walk a trail of tears along unsafe evacuation routes. As of today, 13,000 civilians and at least 5,000 children have been murdered by Israel. Shame! Shame! As a Jewish kid, I often heard the question asked in my synagogue, how could so many have stayed silent during the Holocaust? What we're seeing now is a Holocaust wreaked by Israel.
That's right.
Given their claim to be a Jewish state, they should know better. And what they do now has nothing to do with Jewish values. Zionists do not and never did speak for us.
How's that?
Ethnic cleansing is always evil.
How's that?
Never again means never again for, not for us, but for all.
Yeah.
The constant refrain we hear now is ceasefire. And that's vital, but it's not enough. We need to address the cause itself. If we don't, I guarantee you, Israel and the US government, and that's both the Democrats and the GOP, will use a ceasefire to claim everything's fixed, that there's nothing to see now, we should just disperse, let the momentum die, and sweep the continuing Holocaust of Palestinians under the rug. If that happens, the death and suffering will continue, as it will if the two-state solution isn't debunked for the fraud it is. It's an attempt to institutionalize past injustice and enables more violence by Israel. Israel has never been serious about two states. They admit that now. In rhetoric you hear from Zionists calling for a greater Israel. Such a so-called solution gives Israel a convenient border to shoot over and isolate its victims. And two states denies Palestinians the right of return. Separate but equal does not work.
Yes.
We in the U.S. know exactly what kind of an injustice that is. Stolen land deserves restitution. All Palestinians, and that's in Gaza, the West Bank, and refugees in other nations, have a right to return home to historical Palestine and granted equal citizenship and rights. Without justice, there is no peace.
That's right.
So today's petition calls for two main things. Number one, the arrest of the war criminals responsible for this horror.
Yeah.
Yes! That includes Netanyahu, his cabinet, the top commanders of the IDF and the IOF, in the spirit of Nuremberg, and I do mean Nuremberg. All should be remanded for international trial, along with any U.S. government officials complicit in this genocide.
Meaning Biden,
Meaning Biden, meaning Blinken, meaning anyone who signs on to this.
Austin. Is it better?
And we call for the immediate implementation of justice, democracy, and restitution for Palestinians. In other words, a single state. States do not have a right to exist. People do.
That's right.
Thank you all for being here. History is watching. It will judge us if we do not speak and act now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you.
We're happy to introduce Rabbi David Weiss from True Talmud Jews.
With the help of the Almighty, I pray to the Almighty to bestow upon me His truth, His wisdom, that I may be worthy of conveying His message and so sanctify His name, and hopefully, inshallah, we should bring peace to the world. Amen. We are gathered here because we are holding over 40 days of a slaughter of the people of Gaza. Cold-bloodedly, day after day. Children, over 5,000 children, innocent people, women, old people, young people, day by day, the whole world is witnessing. And the best scenario is they're silent. The worst, of course, is that people are aiding and abetting to this murder. And the question arises, why? How come in this day and age, when we have created United Nations after World War II, that there should not be injustice, there shall not be slaughter, and everybody around the world is watching and seeing how people are under rubble. Countries that ran to help people under rubble by earthquakes are standing by silently. People from around the world are human rights groups. Some of them, and many of them, really would like to help. But they are impeded by the governments of other countries that do not permit and stand by and say, no, you cannot go in there, you cannot help. The reason is because we have to look what is the root, why the world considers this a legitimate slaughter. Unheard of, unbelievable. And this seems to be because there's over 75 years of a inculcated education, a teaching that there are people that are inhumane because they hate another people, a racism called anti-Semitism against Jews. And because of that, they were so successful in dehumanizing the people of Palestine that the people think they have a right to be silent. We as Jews, we who actually went through the Holocaust, my parents, my father escaped when the Nazis went into Hungary. My grandparents were killed in Auschwitz. My father-in-law was in Auschwitz. Our families, we are living and breathing people who remained alive after 6 million and more were killed in Auschwitz and by the Nazis. We are Jews who are proud to be Jews, and who are proud of our religion and true to our religion and didn't change our religion. And our religion is clear. It is a religion of 3,000 years that is clear that it is to be subservient to God, not to kill, not to steal, to do kindness, and to show gratitude to people who did us kindness. And who did us kindness?
The Palestinians.
Through the history, the last few hundred years, the Muslim countries took in the Jews. We were able to flourish amongst the Muslim countries, under the Ottoman Empire in Palestine. Even though we have a distinctly different religion than the Muslims, it wasn't an impediment to peaceful coexistence. There was no human rights groups, and it wasn't necessary. We lived in peace. We lived in peace. Nobody can refute that. And what changed? One issue changed. An introduction of a mere 75 years of a political group called Zionists who has transferred Judaism from religion to nationalism. They weren't religious. No, they weren't. They have a nationalism. They want a piece of land, and they picked Palestine because they can tell the world this is a Jewish state, and by so doing they can accuse anybody who opposes them of being anti-Semitic. Well, our rabbis from day one pleaded with the United Nations, and in 1947 the chief rabbi of the religious community that lived in Palestine, Rabbi Dushinsky, of blessed memory, in the records of the United Nations, before the State of Israel was ratified, he declared, "We furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine, because this is Judaism. We do not occupy. We do not steal." They have a wrong narrative. The narrative is not a hate between religions. The narrative is not a hate between Jews and Muslims. The narrative is of a group of people that came to Vienna, Austria, and they had a selfish plan that was flawed of creating their state, and they did it on the heads and shoulders of the inhabitants of Palestine that were mostly Muslim. Secondly, there was the Christian Arab community, and thirdly, the Jewish community. All three opposed this occupation, but we were harassed, we were murdered, we are beaten, we are arrested because a boy or girl who turns 17 doesn't want to serve in their army, the mandatory service. We are beaten, old men, young children, daily. If this would happen here in the United States, they would be accused of anti-Semitism. The United States would be accused of anti-Semitism. This goes on with impunity daily. Why? We don't carry guns, never. We don't carry knives, never. We simply stand. We have one weapon. It's our voices. We are standing up and declaring for the world, you are being conned. You are being misled. You are not helping the Jews who suffered by Hitler. You are not helping the Jews. By supporting this occupation, you are exacerbating anti-Semitism. You are supporting the anti-Semitism personified, because the State of Israel has caused 75 years of death of Palestinian Arabs and Jews. Because to cement their state, the Jews have died October 7th. Everybody was shocked, but by the 1,200 people or more that were killed. But why did this happen? This didn't happen out of a vacuum or just now. This is going on for 75 years, sometimes in a trickle, sometimes in a flood of death and suffering. Why? Is it because of a difference of religion? Hundreds of years attest that it has nothing to do with the difference of religion. It's because you have you made a state that is defying the will of the inhabitants. Why can't we remove this like apartheid was ended? We can. We are demanding, we are pleading with the leaders of the world not to be silent anymore. Don't have our intelligence insulted. The world leaders shouldn't their intelligence be insulted. They are not supporting Jewish people. They are not supporting people who are suffering as victims. They are supporting villains who are attacking victims. Don't let your intelligence be insulted, or don't be intimidated. You don't take strength by looking right across the water into Williamsburg, Brooklyn, the largest concentration of religious Jews here in the U.S., and there is not one single Israeli flag there, and so in Mea Shearim in Jerusalem. We have to stand up. We have to stop the support of this mass murder of the people of Gaza, and not only that, but to stop and end the continuous Nakba, this colossal, terrible death has to be done by rethinking, just like the apartheid was rethought, and they woke up and saw it's racism, it's very clear. So is the occupation. It's unacceptable, it's ungodly, and because we are Jews, we are pleading with the world, don't let our name be used to commit mass murder, to kill and oppress, and don't respect Judaism, respect our religion. Our religious leaders around the world stand up and say no more. Please, the United Nations. So therefore, please, we are pleading as people who, most of our parents and grandparents died for our religion in Auschwitz. Respect our distinguished rabbis around the world. Hear our voice. Differentiate between Judaism, the religion, and Zionism, a flawed political position, and rethink it and remove it so we can live as we've had for hundreds of years in peace. God should help the free Palestine.
Thank you.
Viva Palestina!
Viva, viva Palestina!
Viva, viva Palestina!
Viva, viva Palestina!
Viva,